Welcome into the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about MJ Lenderman and his album Manning Fireworks. He released that on September 6th. This is the fourth solo outing for MJ and his follow-up to 2022's Boat Songs. It's a stellar record that saw him break through and become a big part of the conversation of who's who in alternative music these days. And his reputation has continued to burgeon, and you can certainly attribute that to his grind, to his work ethic. He's the lead guitar player for the band Wednesday. They put out a fantastic record last year entitled Rats Saw God, and nice to see a number of his bandmates from Wednesday collaborating with him on Manning Fireworks. And he also collaborated with Waxahachie on her most recent effort, Tiger's Blood, which was released in March of this year. Now here we are with Manning Fireworks, and a guy in MJ who's really coming into his own as a songwriter, finding his stride, finding his confidence. And it makes me thrilled to see what the future holds for him. I'm very excited for new music from MJ, from Wednesday, from anything that this guy chooses to be involved with. And I want to kick this review off by taking it back to the beginning, back to 2019, when he releases his self-titled solo debut. He's working a minimum wage job at the time. I think he was in an ice cream parlor or something along those lines. But I bring that up because the majority of his music, pretty much all the songs on this new record, Manning Fireworks, are character studies about sad, lonely, isolated men who, ironically, are the architects of their own demise. There's this element of sorrow, but also hilarity to their situations. And there's very few writers that can do that can, write in a way. It kind of reminds me of Randy Newman meets Charles Bukowski a little bit. He's not afraid to get into the dark recesses of a dirty apartment and to find some guy, playing, Call of Duty by himself at 4:00 in the morning, wondering if this is all that life has in store for me. And I think that that's where MJ found himself as a 20-year-old, and especially going through COVID, seeing how many people, because of the isolation that we all had to deal with, ended up just sticking with that. And this is a guy that you can tell he wants more. He, the pursuit of being a singer-songwriter, of something bigger, making more of life, finding that happiness really is at the core of his music, of his lyricism. And I dig that. This is a guy that is sincere but flippant. He's got this dry sense of humor, but it's also charming. It's also witty and captivating. And what I love about the lyrics is they're laconic. You pull them up and there's not a whole lot there, but he can say quite a bit without saying a whole lot. And I think that's a very rare skill in life. There's people out there that, they're chiding him for his lyrics, saying that it's, cheap poetry, no better than, stuff that belongs from amateurs on TikTok. But if you actually take the time to really dig into what he's trying to say, the pictures that he's painting, the vivid spots and the detail that he provides, there's this level of absurdity, of making light of it. And I think that comes from the discomfort that you feel when you encounter those situations. I know that I'm that way. I imagine that a number of you are that way when things get awkward, when things get weird, things get uncomfortable. I tend to laugh. And MJ strikes me as the type of guy that does that. But what's unique about his perspective, about his approach to songwriting and tackling these issues, is that I feel like sonically with the mood of the music, but also, again, at the core of those lyrics, there's an element of, all right, life's got you down. You've got yourself here. What the hell are you going to do about it? And again, going back to his beginnings, back to 2019, I feel like that was something that he told himself a lot. I might not be a well-known musician. I might be working this minimum wage job. I can either feel sorry for myself or I can do something about it. And he's the type of guy that has taken the reins and done something about that. And I think it's exceptional. I think it's rare in our society where a lot of people are so quick to just make excuses and to pass the blame onto other people for their shortcomings, for why life hasn't necessarily worked out the way that they wanted to. But at the end of the day, you got to be the one that wakes up and handles your shit. And so MJ, kudos to you for throwing that down. I think you're your lyrics they're so captivating and they're so enriching because of that element that's there. From a sonic standpoint, you get that alt rock country flair that a lot of people talk about. Think of a band like Wilco, or think of artists like Kurt Weill, think of Ryan Adams in that vein. And I love that. I feel like there's a lot of different influence coming from all of those artists and everything that they've done. Even a guy like Neil Young. And I think sonically, there's so many moments on this record where the arrangements seem kind of loose and lackadaisical, but they're still tight. They still come together brilliantly. And even watching MJ play guitar, there's a lot about him that kind of reminds me of the way that Neil Young shreds his axe. So I think that that's just stellar as well. This is an album that it's really short. It's 9 songs, 39 minutes, and when you press play and when you get through the first couple of tracks, you're just like, man, this is going by kind of fast at 9 songs. How are we going to get to 39 minutes? But you have a cool album closer at Bark at the Moon. It's exactly 10 minutes long. I love that. And it's something that's very different from this record too. It's very unique to see him close this effort out the way that he does, and just thrilled to be able to get into the track list on this thing. It starts with your title track, Manning Fireworks. You get this great acoustic riff. Think of like classic country. I mean, really think of like the type of country music that was being put out in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. That's the feel that this song has, that opening riff. Vocal complements it so well. I adore the build and the instrumentation, though. You get more of this kind of contemporary alternative rock feel that builds in on top of that classic country element. So I love the contrast there. It feels minimal, but it's also well layered. And I think that that's another great thing about this record, his style in general, the layers of guitar that are at work, the different nuances that play around each other. You guys know it's one of my favorite things. I love when an artist can identify that and really work with it well. And I think he does. There's this casual chaos in this song, mellow Americana, this droll sense of sensibility. And I love, talking about the lyrics. I want to just, read a few things off of these songs. But for asking a question you don't understand, some have passion, some have purpose. You have sneaking backstage to hound the girls in the circus. You've opened the Bible in a public place. You've opened the Bible to the very first page. And one of these days, it will all end. Your tired approach to original sin. I mean, I think that's so deep and just straight to the point. It's a phenomenal lyrical passage there, and with the music, especially the mood that it creates. There's definitely a big wonder about like what is coming next on this record, and I love it as an open. Joker Lips, you get more drive, a bit more conventional structure in this song, that alternative country feel, but it has that somber mood that he's so great at capturing, that sorrowful, again, perspective on looking at someone who's just, whether it's their own undoing or whether life has just not been good to them, or maybe just a combination of both. But he just has such an impressive way of capturing that. And this song does a nice job. I dig the steel work and the other guitars that are at work on this thing. Great textures, great layers there. Lyrics embody just longing and irreverence, and just another great track to get, really into this thing and to really get the momentum going. Rudolph is your third track. Fuzzy drums open this alternative country groove. It definitely is going to up the pace on this record. Hits a bit of like this 90s alternative feel, which is something that those nuances are there, and he really does a nice job of, bands like Pavement, working that in, and from a style standpoint, especially bringing up a band like Wilco, who, really coming into their own in the mid 90s and the late 90s, it makes sense that there's those influences there. But I like the way that this thing takes a hard rock and turn on the solo and into the coda, and just some more lyrics to pull off this thing. Rudolph waking up in the road, dew dripping off his red nose, blue and black tire track, torn through a beautiful doe, deleted scene of Lightning McQueen. I love the Cars reference. He's 25. He was maybe like 6 or 7 when that movie came out. So I love him paying homage to that. How many roads must a man walk down till he learns? And that might sound banal, but I think, it's as life goes on and as we see people live their lives, it's a lesson that I think people need constant reminders, a constant reminder that, yeah, it's really easy to continue to make mistakes, to get into these, repetitious patterns of toxic behavior. And, I think we all know people where you're just like, man, how many times is it going to take before you figure it out? And that's really at the essence of this, I think. Wristwatch is your fourth song. Layers of moody guitars open this track. I love the way that the lead ties in the mix. Your guitars subside to highlight drums and that lead riff, which is fantastic. Guitars build back to pick up the energy, and just another great song with lots of snarky lyrics. I'll pull up a few of them too. I really like you say I've got a funny face. It makes me money is how this opens. So you say I've wasted my life away. Well, I got a beach home up in Buffalo. I think that's hilarious. And yeah, we've all encountered people, especially men, that, I wouldn't be surprised to hear that in normal everyday conversation, just eavesdropping in like a bar or a restaurant. Some wanker out there that actually, would have confidence in something like that. Like that would, have, like that would get him anywhere, whether it's regards to hitting on a woman or, trying to, place yourself in a tier above other people as far as your success in life. I just think it's so silly and so well done. But your fifth song, She's Leaving You, this is a highlight for me. I think this song is exceptional. Just the mood, the melodies. This song is great. And at this point, we have Carly Hartzman, who is bandmate in Wednesday, former fling, former girlfriend, I believe. And their harmonies, though, their voices sound great together. I can see why these two people continue to work together, and I hope that there's nothing that ever gets in between that. It would be great to just see that continue on throughout their careers. But you get this opening alternative riff. Second riff that comes in has a bit of a country feel, and it starts off chill with a slow build, but then it rocks out. It all falls apart. We all got work to do. I love that refrain. And there's just this kind of sadness, this acquiescence I feel in, this character's, looking at their failure and just being like, well, like life goes on and we all got work to do. We all have to get up and go about our daily lives and pay our bills. And, we can't just sit and wallow in our own sorrow. So there's an element of again, like trying to identify your own situation and where it's gone wrong, and understanding that first and foremost that you have to be the one that pulls yourself up out of that. And I think that this song brilliantly exemplifies that. Coda goes all in to rock out. I really dig that about it. Rip Torn is your sixth track. Probably one of the best names for an actor of all time. Rest in peace. Big string driven Americana feel. It's going to slow the tempo and builds an acoustic riff and vocal. The fiddle hangs in the backdrop. I really like that. I think there's this gorgeous middle section of this track that is exceptional. Frenzied strings in the coda that hit brilliantly. I like the momentum of that song coming off of She's Leaving You. You Don't Know the Shape I'm In is your seventh track, another exceptional gem. Electro percussion, definitely a different flair to this track with acoustic and electric builds. It remains minimal and light, and I love when the snare hits and the electric guitar comes in. That's a really cool moment in the track. Shane McCord works wonders on the clarinet towards the end of this thing. I think that's a cool element to this song. It's a song it's got a tender, comforting mood, and I dig the way it just ends in this gentle chaos. It's really cool for that regard. On My Knees is your penultimate track. Big drums, hard-hitting guitar opens. Definitely one of the heavier songs on this record. Other guitars are going to build in before the vocal. It's going to be mid-tempo. Love the lyrical hook too as well. Just two great solo sections that work into the song. It's really a lot of fun. And then Bark at the Moon is your final track. Big 10-minute track, exactly 10 minutes. I think that's really cool that he was playing around with that. But mid-tempo rhythm, twinkly guitars bounce off kind of this like mopey country vibe a little bit, but it hits this great alt country groove as it gets into it. And I love the catchy grind of the song. And then about 4 minutes into this thing, it just ventures into like alternative noise rock. I mean, there's just the chaos of instruments, of feedback, of all different sorts of noise that come together to, really create this disjointed feeling, this feeling of feeling what all the characters that he's talked about throughout the course of this record might be like, feeling like what their headspace is like, as far as the jumbled mess of, trying to sort out the fractured pieces and trying to put it back together. And I think thematically it works really well. It's a really cool element to this record. And I enjoyed it as a close on this album. This is an exceptional effort. I think that MJ is a guy that is hitting just a hell of a stride right now in his career, and it's super fun to see him get to that point. I wish him nothing but the best as his career goes on. I think this record is an 8.2 out of 10. Definitely going to vinyl please it. And I hope you enjoyed this album. I hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2024 and into 2025. Tune in to, got a couple of live shows now. Tune in to Classic Wax on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and also to the Daily Deep Cut. That's Monday through Friday, starting at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to do 1 week of just open episodes on that. And then after that, that's going to be a members only perk, 99 cents a month to get access to that show and to a number of other features that will be dropping on the channel in 2025. So stay tuned for all of that. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time on the Beat Sessions.